I'm telling you, your safety is at risk and you are in danger. Violent MS-13 gangs are crossing the border, and get this, they're recruiting new gang members from the illegal kids that we are housing. With me now, Chris Cabrera, the Vice President of National Border Patrol Council. Good evening, Chris. How do we know, one, whether the kids coming in aren't already gang members, and two, that they are recruiting for new gang members?
Yes, Judge. How are you this evening?
Good, thanks.
We do know that they're coming in as gang members. We do interview them, and a lot of times they're proud of what they're doing and proud of what they are and their gang ties. And usually the gang tattoos are a dead giveaway. Some of these tattoos are very flashy, very gaudy on their neck and on their face. And when they're questioned, they'll readily admit that they are part of either an MS-13 or an MS-18 gang.
All right, Chris, let me ask you this. Is there any way to categorize or create some kind of file that identifies the name of an individual and the location of tattoos? I mean, I know when I was a DA, well, I had a whole intel center where, you know, if someone said the person who raped me had this tattoo, we were able to use that as part of the identification of criminals.
Yes, we do have gang units. They do document. However, with these juveniles, they seem to be in a different category, and a lot of them are being released into the United States. And even though they will be documented as a gang member in their file, at the end of the day, we're still releasing them, and some of them with criminal histories back in their home country. Unfortunately, that's not enough. If they don't have a criminal history here in the United States, we're going ahead and letting them walk out the door.
Let me ask you this, Chris. When you say criminal histories in their own country, we're not actually fingerprinting and then calling El Salvador, Honduras, or Guatemala and saying, hey, you know, John Smith, does he have a criminal record? We're not even checking that, are we?
No, we're not.
Of course not.
The ones that we're finding with the criminal history is through self-admission. We had one not too long ago that said that he participated in 2 murders. Another one said that he participated in a couple attempted murders, drug dealing, that kind of stuff.
Chris, you know, you say, look, when you hear these gang members say this stuff, they're just processed, all right? But are there any efforts in place to crack down on this?
Unfortunately, no. You know, right now we're still in at the building stage of these detention centers. And once we get them in place, right now they're struggling just to get the centers up and running with hot water, with accommodations, with food, and they haven't even gotten that far in advance for segregation units just for the known gang members, and which puts them in with other kids that are vulnerable to this mentality.
And so these gang members, they're being shipped to other parts of the country, as we've heard, up to Virginia, Massachusetts, New York, California, Texas, Arizona.
Yes, they'll go to different detention centers based on what their needs are, where they're going to ultimately be reunited with their families, and they're going to get processed, and then they go to detention center, and 9 times out of 10 they're released.
When you say reuniting with their families, a lot of them, their families are home, and they're the ones who sent them here.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, that's what happens. Some of them are coming to reunite with some type of family, whether it's mother, father, or sometimes an uncle or a cousin living somewhere in the United States, and they're making the trip on their own. A lot of them, you know, these gang members from 10, 12 years on old, 10 or 12 years old on up.
All right. Chris Cabrera, thanks so much for being with us this evening.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
All right. First, Senator John McCain and then Congressman Jim Bridenstine say they were blocked by the most transparent administration in history from seeing the flood of illegal immigrant children. Congressman Bridenstine finally got it, and he joins me now. All right. Good evening, Congressman. You just got in a few hours ago to one of these facilities. Tell us what you saw.
Well, I'll be very frank. My concerns were validated. A lot of these children have been abused. A lot of these children have been trafficked. Those reports are absolutely true. That's been validated. And of course, when you talk about the human tragedy here, that's a big piece of it. There are deaths in northern Mexico as a direct result of the human trafficking. And there's another big problem here that I think a lot of people are not talking about, and that is the children that are at these facilities. Who are they being released to? And that was eye-opening for me as well.
Who are they being released to?
In many cases, they're being released to other illegal aliens in our country, which, as you can imagine, it's very difficult to do a criminal background check on illegal aliens in our country. So without that kind of verification process, they're relying on simply asking questions and self-reporting. Just as your previous guest indicated, they need to self-report in order to know what's happening here. And in many cases, these children are being released to people that we really don't have full knowledge of who they are and what their background is.
All right. Now, the administration refused to let you and Senator McCain go into these places. We're hearing that the doctors and healthcare workers can't even take their phones in. I mean, we're hearing about diseases. You have confirmed that these kids are just, a lot of them are being let out after a period of time. We forget the fact that we're paying for all this, but what did you see? I mean, did you see evidence of diseases in there? I mean, we're hearing about lice on these kids.
Sure. Well, when I was in there, it was very clear that they are very well staffed from a medical perspective, and of course that's for a reason. There were, of course, I went through the medical facility, and there were in that medical facility boards that indicated how many cases of which kind of diseases there were that had come through there. So yes, I can tell you that there were children in there that had different types of diseases, and certainly the medical staff is working very diligently. I want to be clear on this fact, though. The professionals that are working inside that facility are working very hard to make sure that the children are cared for, that these diseases are being taken care of. They're very professional. They are very courteous. They're doing the right thing. The big crisis here is the national security and the national sovereignty of our country, as you've indicated. You had a guest on earlier, Chuck Rocha, and he was doing what Democrats usually do. They try to confuse the issue. There are two separate issues here. One is border security, which requires, that's for our national sovereignty and our national security. A whole separate issue is immigration reform. That's different. And overwhelmingly, we hear from our Democratic friends that this is an immigration issue. This is a national sovereignty and a national security issue. We need to address it by enforcing the law. The 2006 Secure Fence Act requires 100% operational control of the southern border.
Look,
right
the
now
president,
we only have 44%.
Congressman, you know what? We don't have to dance around this. The president wants $3.7 billion. 2% of that is for Border Patrol. He expects $150,000 next year, but isn't doing anything to stop it. What does that tell you? Knowing that there are criminals coming in, we can't confirm who they are. We've got our national security at risk. We know they've got diseases based on what you're telling us. What is the president's agenda here?
Well, here's what we know. We know what will secure the southern border. They've done it in San Diego. It requires a double-layer fence. It requires technology with sensors, and it requires rapid response teams. In San Diego, they reduced illegal immigration by over 90%.
Congressman, I don't mean to interrupt you. I don't have a lot of time. We know what we need to do. Why won't the president do it?
This is the challenge that all of us have to come to grips with. We all agree we need to secure the southern border. Unfortunately, one party wants to hold it hostage for a larger political agenda.
Or hold it open so that they make sure that President Obama changes the demographics of this country. Congressman Bridenstine, thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. And coming up, shocking reports of medical staff threatened to keep their mouths shut about illegals with contagious diseases. The public health crisis you need to know about next.